Connect Transit has had to reduce peak service for its most popular fixed routes several times in the last few years. First, there was a bus driver shortage. Now it's an actual bus shortage. The transit agency has a fleet of 12 electric-powered vehicles. All but one have been taken off the road for various problems. They either need new parts, repairs from an accident, or a computer malfunction. And they can't get parts because its electric battery manufacturer, Proterra, filed for bankruptcy last year. General Manager David Brown tells WGLT's Eric Stock Proterra's problems reflect a larger issue with the emerging EV technology, and it could be many more months before the problem is resolved.
I would say that we're still working through it. So another company has purchased Proterra, a company called Phoenix EV. Phoenix is now establishing component manufacturing agreements. So we have not gotten the parts distribution yet. We think probably within the next 6 months to a year, that parts distribution will be complete. But they are still working through some of the issues, and we're just facing it. So we get the buses rolling as we can, and we hope that hopefully by the end of this year, most of the buses will be back on the street.
So what does that mean, get it rolling? How do you do that on your end?
That's the challenge, because if we can't buy parts, this is a unique bus. It was built, for this purpose. It's not like going to a Ford dealership and picking up a part that's readily available. That part was built for this bus, and if they don't have distribution agreements with the other manufacturers, then we can't get those parts. So some of the issues are also computer related. So what's different in a big bus versus like a car is everything goes through that computer. Everything from the video system to the CAD AVL, everything that we have goes through that central brain. And if they don't communicate well, that means that brain isn't functioning properly. So a lot of time is spent just engineering some of those code issues on the bus. It's basically a rolling computer.
How many vehicles do you have that would have been serviced by Proterra, and how many need service or parts now?
We have a total of 12 vehicles. Of those, I believe 5 need parts. Others are computer equipment, and some are just some accident repairs.
So how are you able to manage that, keep the fleet up while you've got 5 sidelined?
We had the foresight to have a contingency fleet. So we do have some additional buses that we didn't plan on running for much longer, but we are currently running 21-year-old vehicles, the 2003 vehicles that we were hoping to replace with these electric buses.
So how long before you'll be able to get to peak service with the entire fleet running at full capacity?
Back in January, we actually reduced our fixed route service during the peak. Last year we did it for lack of drivers. We were able to get that under control by increasing the starting wage and some other benefits. So now we have a full complement of drivers, but now it's a bus issue. So we ran full peak service until January. We recently reduced it, and that's what we're proposing to continue into next year. And then shifting those additional hours to mobility and Connect Flex in the future.
But you're able to meet the demand that you plan to keep forward for the foreseeable future at this point?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we don't anticipate having to reduce any more service.
I know there have been a lot of reports in the media about Proterra and some problems they were having. Was there any way that Connect Transit could have possibly pivoted at some point, or were you already stuck in this deal? We are. Let me see how to best frame this. So we had 12 already ordered. Mm-hmm. We have 5 more on order now, and we have agreement for 5 additional ones. So those are stalled right now as we're looking at our options. So as far as pivoting, as you know, we get most of our funding for buses from the federal government. So we have to ask permission. When somebody writes you a check and expects you to buy something and you choose to buy something else, we need to get their permission to do that. And are there any other suppliers out there?
There are some suppliers of electric buses, but it's a fairly immature industry. So, we're hoping that every electric bus manufacturer has had its issues, and Proterra had nothing to do with the electric bus as much as it had to do with its funding stream. The way that the feds pay is we put in an order, and the order takes 18 months to build, and then the feds pay after that sometimes. So it could be 2 years that they have to carry a carrying charge. So that really impacted Proterra being a new bus company that only sold electric. The diesel manufacturers who also sold electric, New Flyer and Gillig, those are kind of the two main manufacturers. Both of those have had some issues as well. So as far as electric vehicles, there's nowhere to pivot. Right now we're evaluating what our next steps are.
Is that a red flag for the industry as this emerging technology eventually becomes mainstream in the transportation industry in general and in public transportation specifically, that they're not able to get fully funded to help operations like Connect Transit do what you're serviced to do?
The industry is actually looking at that and working very closely with the federal government to resolve that. So everything from progress payments, the FDA never allowed us to do progress payments necessarily, and now they're willing to allow us to do stages, milestone payments. So rather than waiting until the bus is delivered to pay, we could actually pay based on how much of the bus has been built to date. So things like the battery would be purchased first, certain other components along the way, so that they're not holding the cost of that battery for 24 months or plus.
Gotcha. So it kind of sounds like it starts with the federal government and their money, and it flows downstream from there. Is that where this all got out of whack?
I think for Proterra, that's exactly where it got out of whack. Yeah, and quite honestly, public transit has always been kind of the R&D arm of the federal government when it comes to new technologies. So I think what they're doing, the investment that they're making in public transit, is to work out these bugs in electric vehicles so that then it can be better commercialized. So I think in the future, I don't think electric vehicles are going away as much as we're learning, we're putting those dollars or that education back into the manufacturing process, and then future manufacturing will be much more stable.
Connect Transit General Manager David Brown says the transit agency is still in the midst of a study on how to simplify its rate structure and plans to modernize its fare boxes. He says the current card swipe system occasionally malfunctions and is less user-friendly than a card tap-and-go system. Brown spoke with WGLT's Eric Stock.